Daisy. This meeting is being live streamed. Got it. It should say the same on yours now as well.
Yeah.
Jolly good. And hello, I'll be with you in a moment. I'll just see if it's coming up on my Facebook page. There we are. It is. So what I'll do is I'll tap that on there like that, and then the comments will appear. And if anybody wants to ask any questions, I'll try and, if they can keep my phone from falling down, I'll try and answer them as we go along. How the devil are you, old chap?
Very, very well, young lady. How are you?
Yes, I'm plodding along, but I'm awfully knackered.
Uh-huh.
Because the last few days have been a tad difficult, to say the least.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you know that my son had a terrible accident. He was knocked over by a speeding taxi, you know, and he cracked his head, he broke his nose, he's lost his 3 front teeth, fractured his arm, fractured 4 ribs, and he's got a hairline fracture of the pelvis as well, and bruises all over himself, you know what I mean? And it gave me the shock of my life, you know, because he's my son and I love him. And but you know, I'm quite proud of myself, you know, because the old Joe would have created a drama out of all that.
Yeah.
And then gone and reached for a bottle of whiskey or something because isn't it so terrible? But you know, as I've learned over the years, that was just all about me. It wasn't really about anybody else. It was just about me, you know. I don't know why I'm telling you this, but and then my mum's not been too well either. She's, you know, she's in a nursing home and her chest's terrible at the moment and stuff like this. So it's been one of those, and what I've had to do is practice what I preach and really just detach with love and just try and do something positive in my own life, you know. So that's what I've been doing, but it does impact me, you know. I feel tired because of it and stuff, you know. But
yeah.
Anyway, enough of this moaning. How are you getting on? You've been busy too in this what they call Conquers Earth School.
Yeah, I have. I'm having 3 days off next week because it's been a lot, and every day we're in the dojo, aren't we, of mastery?
Yeah.
And my lessons this week have been how to ask for help. Because we can't build communities and schools on our own, and I always feel bad if I haven't got money to pay somebody. Then I feel bad that if I accept help, just some program I have running. So I've been working to release that one. But the actual school itself and everything that we're building here and the community it's thriving. Yeah. Every day it's growing and growing and growing. It's amazing, really amazing. But I've had double workshops today. I've been teaching magic potions this morning to 2 beautiful children, and then we had creature teachers. We had zoology. So my little temple space in school was filled with bearded dragons and snakes and owls and ferrets and giant African centipedes and children.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
See, I love it, and it's hard, that program, isn't it? That financial helpy typey give us a hand program. But as you say, it's a program, and what's a program? It's just a condition that's being repeated over time, isn't it? And I'm learning that now. But it's difficult, isn't it, to exercise them? But if you don't know it's running, you can't get shut of it. This is the thing, you know. And that's so right. How do you know it's running? And how can this higher consciousness point it out to us? It does it by if it creates a disturbance in us.
Yes.
You know, because there's a perfect, in my view, and this is just the way I explain it, there's a perfect template within us that's always sending signals out, and that's called our soul and our soul's purpose. So it's almost like got its own frequency. Now, anything that's not aligned with that now will cause a disturbance. Now, if you don't know that and you're feeling irritable, nervous, discontented, angry, resentful, self-piteous, if you're in all those sorts of things, right, then you might go to the doctors for a tablet to make you feel calmer or something like that, you know, or you might go down the pub and get half a bottle of whiskey down you to temporarily relieve you, you know. But I know now that any emotional disturbance in me is my ego that is being threatened at some point, you know.
Yeah.
And I know that now, because as soon as I feel emotionally disturbed, I stop now. I step back and I have a feeling, and I say to my heart, this is the way I do it, I tap on my heart and I say, what is it? What is it? Joe, you're being a perfectionist again, right? You're doing the best you can. You're tired. Just let it go now, because you've done enough on this, But there's always something in me that wants to fiddle around and retune it, and and I get more and more tired. And in the end, I say, oh, yeah. In the end, I say, oh, sod it, that'll do anyway, So I sort of let it go a bit quicker now, really, But
that's great. It does get easy. Well, what's amazing to me is this time round, those I'm closest to feel my disturbance before I've even. I'm feeling it, but I'm not acknowledging it. And so I receive messages from those I'm very, very connected and close to. Are you okay? What is there? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. And then it feels like, for me, as I liken it to a volcano, it comes out. I have a little cry and I go, all right, I am tired. Like others do.
It's good, isn't it? I mean, fine, I'm fine, the expression that's like fucked up, insecure, neurotic and exhausted, so when people say, I say I'm fine, I have to listen to myself then. I think to myself, am I really? No, I'm not, I'm tired. I'm sorry if I've been naughty, and I have to say sorry. I have to do that because, sometimes I project that onto the nearest and dearest, and it's nothing to do with them, really. I'm just sort of venting it and looking for some sort of external excuse, right, to have a cob on, really, So, but Lisa, I never knew any of this. I didn't know it was the root cause of my alcoholism and, my all that other stuff, taking substances to change the way that I felt all the time, But I'm onto it now, and I sort of recognize, I sort of almost welcome triggers, I welcome them, because I know that if I deal with them and take the right action to neutralize them, then I'm going forward in my own little evolutionary sort of journey,
Yeah, well, that's it. So the message that's been coming through for me is again and again and again, Lisa, ask for help, ask for help. And so I did ask for help when this little volcano erupted within me. And I received a literal first of all, I had one of the women from my physical sisterhood that's formed here. So we have women's circle twice a month. One lady, she said, Lisa, I saw my spirit animal, then I heard your voice and I knew that I was to come and assist you. And she stepped in, and so what she does is she just sits with me in temple and chats to people as if she is part of it, so I can get on with admin. And then a complete stranger walked through the door asking to know what Conquers Earth School is about, because she feels really drawn to it and needs to know everything about it, and said, do you need volunteers? She said, you're going to need help and I'm available. So it's like miracles, absolute miracles, and it's happening so fast.
I think as well, from a financial point of view, people like ourselves who are trying to sort of organize things like this and get them going, we do need financial help. We do need financial help, and getting that is difficult, because I'm not one for admin or filling in funding forms and all that, because that just destroys me.
Kills the creativity.
Well, no, and that's what I noticed, because in my previous jobs it was all administrative stuff, and it took away the joy, right, of actually creating and doing research work and stuff like that, So I put my hand on my heart, if you like. I'm not a religious person, but it's like a little prayer, if you like, or a request to me higher self or deepest part of me, and I say, look, I'm really struggling here. I wonder if you could help us out on this. And like you say, sometimes something happens so instantly and so quickly. It's bloody miraculous, and I sort of expect it, but not expect it at the same time, So but I do know that if you want something done, like you and I have said often, ask a busy person. But I've got my fingers in that many pies at the moment that I'm sitting down with myself now, and I'm saying to myself, Joe, really, I just want to focus in one direction now, and I ask my heart or my soul, please show me. And what that's doing to me is that I seem to be a person who can take complex scientific things and break them down into relatively simple chunks that people understand. So it's almost like taking a lot of science, and it's like leading with science to give some credibility to the stuff that we do as well, because a lot of the stuff that we do is considered to be woo-woo and out of the box, you know. But I know I'm sort of scientificizing mysticism in a way, you know, and I'm trying to help explain that to people, you know. For example, like chakra dowsing and sort of pendulum work and stuff like that, you know, because, you know, when I started to do that and feel all this energy, right, I was absolutely amazed. But where it's led me to the areas of quantum mechanics, quantum consciousness, the areas of subtle energy medicine. So it's really expanded my understanding of how it all works. Lisa, I've got no idea how most of it works, but I've got quite a lot of understanding, you know, about the principles of it, really, you know.
Well, that's what's coming back in. So the strapline on my website, Rock and Rose Rituals, is reweaving the healing cloak of the ancients. And that was something that came through, and straight away I was like, oof, yeah, I feel that. I do feel that. And that's what we're doing with the sisterhood. All these women coming in saying, I've got all this stuff moving through me. I don't know where it's coming from. And it is all this ancient wisdom coming through us all. So, you know, most of us we've got no idea what's inside of us. There's a lot inside of us that is coming through now. And we do need support. We do need community to help us to navigate it, because everything we thought we were is going, pretty much, you know. All of this, I liken it to being a toddler again. You're having to learn how to walk and talk in a whole new way. And, you know, those things that we're drawn to, there's for a very good reason that we're drawn to certain things, isn't there?
Yeah.
You know,
and it's, you know, my thing is it's the focus on the feelings first,
the feelings,
because the head is just full of knowledge, which is basically stored past information, which generally it's not working anymore, because, you know, that's what we do, is memory really is just stored and crystallized memories and of behavior from the past, and it ain't going to work anymore. So we have to, as I say, we have to literally metaphorically decapitate ourselves and just work in the moments from sort of inspiration and intuition that's coming from this innate intelligence that dwells within us or outside of us, but works through us and with us and all that. It doesn't really matter. It's just a feeling of flow that's bringing with it information that needs to be acted upon. And what I'm seeing is, more than anything else, is it's all very well having all these sort of theories and stuff, but unless you put it into practice, nothing ever changes, you know. So grounding actually means taking a step forward with the information you're given and create something as you're going along, really, you know.
Certainly, you know, 10 years ago, if somebody would have shown me what I'm doing now, you know, I've created a healing method. Well, it's come through me. It's not from me. It's come through me. You know, these candles with through them came an oracle deck, because each one of my candles comes with messages from the plant world and from the plants, and you know, as a way, it's Mother Earth's way, or Gaia, or whatever you want to call her, is for connecting to people and helping people remember, because everyone loves a smelly candle, don't they? You know, candles. So, and I'm like, you know, watching this come through, and I'm like, that's genius, that. But I didn't decide to do any of this. I haven't decided to do any of this. Even with the Conquers Earth School, it's begun with Merlin and magic potion making classes. Because when I do the magic potion classes, that I'm then able, those of a certain frequency obviously turn up. And then I'm then able to connect with these children and see where they're at, and I'm gathering a whole community of wonderful teachers and elders, and I know then who to connect with who through this one sort of entry class. So again, I didn't design any of this.
And it's not like you have to stress about it, is it, really? Because it's almost like given to us on a daily basis. That's the way I see it. It's fed to us almost like on a plate in front of us. And we just have to deal with that. Where I go wrong, you know, and I do go wrong, is I project too far then, and I get into expectations of, I wonder if it's taken me down there, you see. And I get this thing from my higher power, deeper feeling. Or it says, whoop, get back here, you. Right. Get back here. Keep your head forward. Put your blinkers on. Yeah, but what about that? Nothing to do with you, right? And I get it's quite strict, actually, the way it speaks to me. And I don't mind that at all, because that's the sort of person I am in my own
Well,
life.
you need that.
Yeah, but bugger off, you. Hey, pot, kettle, black, etc. Right. But the whole point about it is I'm like that with people as well. I can't be doing with like long stories anymore. You know what I
No,
mean? I
let's
can't be arsed
get
with
to the
it.
point. Keep it simple.
I can't be arsed with the flim flam and all that fluffy stuff. I can't. Now, if other people are like that and it works for them and it benefits, that's great. But I'm not that person, right? And in truth, I never have been. You know what I mean? You know, I sometimes say to people, "Is this going to be a long story?"
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I see them coming up the street and they go like, "Hello, nice to see." Oh, I've got to get on. You know what I mean? Because the old Joe, I'd be there for half an hour listening to all this shit that they were coming out with, right? And dying on the spot, you know. So that's fortunately that's left me, you know, that was cleansed from me a long time ago.
Wonderful.
Because I always feel like I've got quite a responsible job to do, you know, and it's like, you know, I'm sorry. I might appear rude, but I'm not. I'm just trying to use my energy to stay focused on the job that I've got to do. Right.
Yeah. I know your last chat with Elsa Dillon, she said the same, didn't she? People come and talk to her in the street and she just, if it goes off in the stories, people can we all do it, you know, oh, I've done it. We get really caught up in the stories and we want to share all of that, but none of it's real. So she just walks away, and you kind of have to. I'm learning that, because a lot of people that do find their way to my temple, they're so lonely because they've been so alone, because they are very magical, right? I've got elders that have been on this path for over 30 years. You know, I had one lady come in, she's in her 70s, as I was teaching this boy of 10, and he's talking about string theory and quantum physics. And she just burst into tears and she just said to him, "We've been waiting for you for so long. Thank you for coming." You know, she knew exactly what was going on, and he just stood up out of his chair and gave her a hug.
Yeah, it's bloody marvelous, you know. I mean, it is fantastic, and I feel like waves of emotion coming through me now, and that's not sentimentality. This is the truth that's coming, you know. And I've had so many indications over the last month of, you are on the right path. Right. Just keep going. You've got nothing to worry about in the future, Joe. Keep going. You're doing a good job, son. That's how it sometimes talks. It's like my dad talking to me, you know what I mean? And I think sometimes I look at my hands and it's my dad's hand, you know, and things like this, you know. And I've spoken to quite a few people this week. And what seems to be happening now is they've talked about people who've passed into the world of spirit. And then when they talk about them, I'm getting like something behind me, like here, you know, like this. And I say to them, look, I'm not being funny here, but I've got a sense that this might be your dad. I said, and I don't say things like this normally, but what I'm saying is I have a very strong feeling that your dad's here talking like and giving me sort of like little thoughts. I said, but please, let this sit with you. I don't want you to believe me, but if it means something to you, then they just start crying and, oh my God, you know, and I think that's a great thing, you know. And I've had that, but you know, I think some people actually do. They actually see these sorts of the spirit that's gone before and the souls and all that. I don't, but I get a lot of clear sentience and stuff like that, really.
Yeah, I've been smelling again this week. I've not had that for a while, but I've been smelling things that aren't there, but you know, I can't see them. And there's been a lot of, it's like man's aftershave.
Right.
I've had this week. I had it again earlier. Do you get, when you get the sense of someone's here, does it always come in on your right side or your left side?
I've never really noticed, but I think it's mostly on the right side. Yeah,
me too. It's always the right, and the right ear. I don't know why that's...
Well, I have a left ear thing. See, I listen to me higher power through my left ear, right? Because I sort of go in, the gates of my heart open, and it goes deep down into me soul center or whatever. I don't know, you know, I'm just learning like everybody else. But it's funny that I see sometimes, and they just see me and burst into tears. Now I can understand that. But you know, it seems to be happening a lot now, and it's almost like, oh, thank God, you know, you're the first person who's listened to me, you know. And I'm thinking to myself, you know, because most of the time I honestly do not know what the hell I'm doing. I really don't, you know. But I do know one thing is that I am serving a useful purpose most of the time, you know.
Yeah.
But sometimes, this is what happens sometimes, though. Sometimes I get somebody presents in front of me and they sort of need to be knocked down a peg or two. And I seem to get used to that as well, you know, is to say, you know, it's almost like to discover a chink in their armor, because I had one person come to me, you know, she asked me for some help, and I said, no problem. I said, hello, and all that. And immediately she started to tell me how I should behave, right? And I thought, hang on a sec, right, hang on. And then from me, right through me, it was like, oof, and it almost like cut her down in her tracks. And Joe is over here, you know, little Joe, he's over here watching what's being said there, thinking, oh my God, what's going on? So, you know, from one moment to the next, right, I can be like super sensitive, you know, almost lovey-dovey Joe, and then on the next breath I can be like the worst person in the world, you know.
Cut through. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because every reflection that we're in front of, you know, there'll be a different aspect of me comes through. And it's really nice to be aware of this now, because, you know, and it's like, okay, we're playing this role, and it is getting fun, isn't it?
It is.
You know, I got the message, put The Wonder of You by Elvis Presley on, because I texted you, didn't I?
Yeah.
And I thought, oh yeah, you know, I feel like a good bit of, I love singing loudly to Elvis on my own. And I put it on in the temple. And I thought maybe it was for you, to cheer you up. And then this literally, straight away after, this woman came in and she said, oh, this is mine and my husband's song. We've been married 35 years. I'm like, wow. Yeah.
Well, it's amazing, because this morning, right, I got clearly in my mind, I got the James, right, I got James and a feeling about my son, you know. And then a second later, my phone goes and it was my son, you know what I mean? So it's almost like he's phoning you up now, boom, you know. Yeah. And these are called, aren't they? These are called siddhis or gifts or whatever, you know, and loads of people now, as this energy is coming in, these gifts are opening up to them all, everybody, you know. But people who've got no idea about this stuff, it's right overwhelming for them. And that's where I was, you know, in this 1987 harmonic convergence. All this stuff opened up and I couldn't handle it, you know. So I think part of our job is to be honest about it, to say that we're learning, we're opening up, this is what happens to me. Funny you should, you know, when they say funny you should say that, that's bizarre, and that's been happening to me too, you know.
Oh, what a coincidence.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. And then I'll sort of get a clue there to say this, and you go, oh my God, not you as well, you know. So it's almost like you are no longer alone, you know, because when these things happen, you can feel like you're the only person in the world going through it. So the identification with somebody else who's going through weird stuff is a really positive step. But you have to have a bit of courage, really, to say, look, I'm going through this, you know, and then it seems to sort of pour out then, really.
That's why whenever people find their way to me and they're telling me, you know, they're going through all of this and I feel like I'm losing my mind, I just say, congratulations.
Yes. Exactly. I say that. Thank goodness for that. Or some people say, they come along and said, I've been thinking of doing myself in. Oh, how are you thinking of doing it? And they go, what? And I said, well, I tried that and I tried this. And I thought, you know, that was the one that was nearly the most successful. And they look at me and say, oh my God, right.
When you shared that, one of the methods you tried, I couldn't believe
it.
I thought I was a nutter.
Oh, honestly, God. But, you know, I look back now and it's laughable. Only because I'm on this side of it. Because when I was on the other side of it, Christ almighty, I did not know what was going on. Talk about the dark night of the soul. I have a joke this. I had the dark night of the soul every morning, you know what I mean? That's how I felt. My whole life was just, they call it the black dog or the black fog, you know. And Lisa, I can't identify with that person anymore, you know. It was a process. It was something that I set myself, a task that I had to get through. I see that now for me. You know,
so you can do what you're doing now.
Well, exactly. And I've just been listening to somebody on the Solargy, and they're talking about, if you look back in your life, you get set up at every stage. You don't think you are, but at every stage and everything you went through, it was a setup to get you where you are now, in order to like express who you are and what you're finding out about yourself. You know,
it's genius. It's also such genius. It really is. You know, not. Why is this happening to me? Why is this happening for me? What is this happening? What is this that is happening for me? What is it showing me? What is it showing me? Because there's always something to show you, something that we need to know.
And I realize the power of negative emotion to keep you down, right? And I understand that now. But we're almost like brought up in an environment right, which is fear-based really, and it absolutely obstructs our true essential self from getting out, you know. And I see that it's almost like a setup where there's a system now to keep us sort of imprisoned, you know. And I'm beginning to see now that most people on the planet are almost like programmed in slavedom, you know. And I see that very, very clearly now.
Yeah.
And that's why for some reason, and for a long time now, for many years, they seem, or I am, or whatever the hell this thing is that's guiding me, they seem to be guiding me in the direction of helping young people from a very, very early stage to remain essentially their natural selves.
That's the driving force behind, and the raison d'etre behind Conquers Earth School.
Raison d'etre, is that French that you could say?
I don't know.
Raison d'etre. Well, it's like le joie de vivre, isn't it? Because the reason for being is the joy of living is our theme, you know. And that's the thing is, if you look around and walk around, there's so many people are so unhappy, unhappy. And it almost breaks my heart, but I know what the solution is. I'm not the solution, but I can try and pass the solution on to them. And the solution's quite simple, is what you're looking for is within you. So stop looking out there for answers, turn your eyes the other way around and dig deep in there and unearth who you really are, the treasures that who you really are, you know.
Yeah. I love saying to the children, it's like, I teach magic potions for a living. This is my job. Straight up, this is my job. I said, so you can do it. If I can do this, you can do anything. And it's nice to see the parents, they start then questioning things, you know, what, I used to be like this. So it's affecting whole families through play, right? I play every day.
Well, I saw saw my grandson yesterday. He's just 2 now, right? And I look at him and he's so pure, and the light just, because I see light coming through people, and I can see that, I can almost like see their mood state through the colors that I pick up and stuff like that, you know.
Yeah.
And he's so pure, and he's got white blonde hair and stuff, and really blue eyes and stuff like that, you know. And obviously Granddad Joe does that. He must be a star child and all this bollocks, you know. But all children have specific energetic signatures, right? That are the key, really, or part of the orchestra that's needed to bring harmony. And I honestly think, like Joseph, he's the lad, isn't he? Wants to talk to me. Little Joe wants to talk to Big Joe about string theory. And when you told me, I thought, Christ, I better go and revise, you know what I mean? Because
you'll have to, because he knows a lot.
Because I was thinking he's going to batter me with string theory.
He will.
Because the whole thing he wants to talk to me for is he wants someone to chat to, first of all, to see where I'm up to with it, right? But also, he also said, didn't he, that he wants to bring in information that's beyond string theory. And I'm thinking, this is bloody brilliant.
He wants to take it, because he told me that Einstein and Stephen Hawking only took it so far, and he wants to take it that little bit further, his words.
To the next level. It's absolutely...
He's entirely homeschooled.
Now, it's funny you should say that about homeschooling, because sometimes that's seen, you know, Lisa, as a bit controversial, because there seems to be more and more people who are becoming more involved and more interested in homeschooling. And I am as well, because I think more than anything else I think that's the way forward to upturn this flaming system that we've got at the moment, because it's not working. It's disintegrating for a reason. And it needs almost strong forward thinkers in ancient stuff, because I think that you know, we pick up ancient knowledge which is basically futuristic from the standpoint where we're at now, really. And I think, you know, if anybody's interested at all, and we have contacts now, where if anybody's listening to this and they're interested, then they can get in touch, and we can put them onto sort of various sites, Facebook groups, websites and stuff like that, where they can get their own information.
So we've got Conquers Earth School, which is predominantly at the moment we're serving the home ed communities and children, and you know, and helping the parents too through this. And so my partner in this, along with a few others, and you're helping a lot as well, which is amazing, is wonderful lady called Gemma, and she started myhomedvillage.co.uk, and that's an online resource for all things home education. So we're building that day by day by day. So there's loads of information out there, but you know, anyone's welcome to reach out to either me or Gemma if they want support with this, you know, pointing in the right direction. Because those that come to me and they said, I was really worried at first for home educating, you know, how we do it. And they said, do you know, it's the best thing we've ever done. There's no more stress in the family, you know, and I don't even have to put them on a schedule and ask them to do the work, because they just go off and do it on their own, because they're learning about things that they're passionate about. Right? These ones coming now, they are the revolution.
And it sort of fits in, doesn't it, with this I am approach that I'm sort of like developing as well, you know, because the I am approach really is interior or internal asset management. So it's basically working with what's strong in the individual and not what's wrong with the individual, because the state system that we're in now, it will disregard what people are good at, and it will have them putting all their energy into try and becoming good at what they're not good at, you know, what's not natural or innate, you know. And I think I understand why they want to do that, because they want to normalize and standardize everybody and get them to wear the same clothes for some reason. But anyway, you know, it's almost like this. I can't help it, you know what I mean? The strength-based approach means that it's like maybe it's Maybelline, you know, she must have been born with it, you know, that one. So it's working with what kids are naturally inclined towards, and I see that as their soul's purpose. So one child may be completely an opposite to another child, but the purpose of that would be that a group then and a community would form. Where if something needed doing, they could say, maybe go to Lisa, she's good at that. Or if she can't do it, Joe's pretty good at that as well. So I almost like see that the individuals are starting to link together now in communities. But to be able to do that right from an early age, where we don't poison them, right, and we allow them to flourish in who they naturally are, I think that's the way forward, because I can honestly see that it's the kids that are going to heal the planet if only we as the adults listen to what they're going to say, you know what I mean? I really believe that.
They really are. And you know what I'm getting more and more of now is teachers coming to me asking me for a job.
Right. It's amazing.
I had one walk into my temple today and she said, I've just qualified as a teacher. I've been doing it 2 months and I'm so disillusioned by it already. She said, it doesn't work. I love teaching. I love working with children. I love nurturing children, but the system doesn't work. And she's like, please, can you keep me updated of what you're doing? If there's anything I can do. And yeah, she's one of many, especially primary school teachers are finding their way to us.
Well, I met somebody at a recent conference who teaches mindfulness, and she's at the university. She's a senior lecturer in early years, right? And she does a lot of work with primary schools, you know. So we've linked up together, and there's a possibility, because what we tend to do is I go along and teach the teachers mindfulness and mindful breathing. And once they can start doing it, then it's almost like their own intuition then guides them to what to do next, you know. So I've got friends who are actually in schools now and all that sort of thing, who in a very subtle way, it almost like radiates out and people start, because my view is that this works by attraction and not promotion. Yes. And that's why we don't have to be too worried about things, because what's needed will be attracted to us anyway, you know, as guided by these sort of invisible supervisory forces that are looking after us, you know. And whether they be guardian angels or extraterrestrials, or it doesn't really matter to me, but I just know that when I get the feeling, I feel like I get shuffled along sometimes and I end up somewhere and I think, what am I here for? And then the information comes in, you know.
It comes, yeah.
But I've looked at lots of different areas. I put something up, I don't know whether you saw it on Facebook just before we came on. I put something on Sir Ken Robinson. No. And right, well, if anybody's interested, he's gone now. He's gone to the other side now. But he's a Liverpool fella, right? And he was a brilliant footballer as a kid, and he developed polio, right? And then that knackered his football career. But then he went into sort of teaching and stuff like that then, and he became world renowned. But he believed that the school system and the education system globally, as it works, right, it stops the creativity of the individual, you know. It's almost like designed to block creativity for various reasons. So if anybody's interested in this, he's funny, honest to Christ. He's come from Liverpool and he's very funny, you know, but you can see that it pours out of him because he's so enthusiastic about it. And he actually got a knighthood, and he was trying for ages.
Really?
Yeah, he got a knighthood, but it was almost like to shut him up, basically. You know, that's the way I look at it, you know. So if you're interested in that, Sir Ken Robinson, and I think people are still sort of keeping his site going and stuff like that, you know, but he talks the way that we do. And I think he wrote a book called The Essence. I think he called it The Essence, you know.
Did he do TED Talks?
Yeah.
I think, someone else has mentioned him to me, so I'll have a look. Thank you.
It's all right. Well, I've just put a TED Talk up there on it. It's a 20-minute one. And I just said to people, you know, if you get a chance just to even look at 10 minutes of this, you'll see where he's coming from, because we're being guided in the same direction, you know. And I can see this now, you know, and I think I got a thing today as well. We laugh at those who think spirituality is a weakness. Paradoxically, it is a strength, you know what I mean? And I can see that now, that sometimes people misinterpret and misunderstand. But spirituality to me is not religion, right? It's a sort of invisible force, a benevolent force, right? That's carrying us, basically. That's how I see it, you know.
It's operating from your spirit, from your source, rather than this, you know, the instructions of another. Yeah. The programming and beliefs of another.
It is, and you know, it's an inside job, you know, so it works from down to up and inside to out, you know. So it's the whole thing is, rather than repression and compression and oppression and all that, you know, where most of us have been, right? This is about expressing. But what tends to happen is, as the change happens and the reversal takes place, which is called a spiritual awakening, which is happening in a mass way now across the planet, what happens is initially people start to say, hang on a second, look what they've done to us. And it brings a fury. It brings a fury with it. But actually, at some level, we've allowed this for a purpose, really. Yeah. So this is to allow the fury to work and be transformed to an open and flowing heart. And that gives us then the motivation to go forward and not fight against what's gone before, because I call that shadow boxing.
It is shadow boxing.
Yeah, because
fighting yourself.
Yeah, you're fighting yourself, but also you're fighting yourself. You're fighting something that's already manifested. Right. So you're fighting the past, you know. So as I've said to you before, you know, and you've said to me, the idea is create something beautiful from behind it and just kick it out. So the new thing that's coming through, the creative flow, will just sort of kick the other thing out of the way. Yeah. And the other thing I know, Lisa, and this is important, is the more that you pay attention to it, the longer it will live, you know. So it's almost like
alive in your reality. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you don't give it pay no heed, give it no attention, but it'll scream and kick and shout and it'll try everything. If you just like breathe it away, right, sooner or later, the energy that it's required will be no longer available for it.
Love it, give it a cuddle, thank it for all that it's taught, that it's brought or reminded us, and then tap into the heart and go, okay, where are we going now?
Exactly. And you know, sometimes, and what's happened, and I've seen this really clearly, sometimes it turns around and gets behind you, right?
Oh yeah.
And it says, it's, you know, and this is the art of fighting without fighting. It's almost like, oh, do you know what? I never saw that before, but I'm beginning to realize I've seen the error of me ways. And it's almost like, in the deepest terms, it's like they sign a redemption contract, you know, to neutralize things and stuff. But it's like criminals, you know, criminals are brilliant at stuff, you know, but they get caught out all the time because they're doing it for the wrong purposes. But they've developed so many skills that when they turn around and use it for good purpose, right, it's brilliant.
It's genius, aren't they?
Exactly. And it's magic. And it's genius, you know.
Yeah. That's why you hear that, don't you? You know, where people say you're either going to end up in prison or a multimillionaire.
Yeah, well, exactly. And that's the whole thing, is, you know, you look at counterfeiters and stuff like this, you know, in the war, it's like Kelly's heroes, you know, they got them out of prison, right? And, you know, they took on the Germans and stuff like this, you know, with all these sort of criminal skills and stuff like that, you know, for good purpose also, so, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know where we're going with this. I'm just like chatting along. But the thing is, I'm not really, I don't have any fear anymore, to be quite honest with you. The only time I have fear is when I project too far into the future. And how do I know I've got fear? Because I feel it coming in. And I know then that it's because I'm projecting. I hardly ever think about my past. My past is gone now. I've cleaned up my side of the street now. And, you know, it doesn't come along anymore to bite me on the bum or make me feel bad or anything like that. Because, you know, what I did in the past in drinking and all that sort of stuff, I've now neutralized that. You know, now, if something came up that I've completely forgotten about, I would just go along and say, look, I'm awfully sorry about that. If there's something I can do to pay, you know, and then I'll do it, you know. But as far as, you know, there's an expression that says, you're only as sick as your secrets, you know. And I had loads of secrets because most of them, they call them being buried alive in your mind, you know. So they're always in your unconscious, draining your energy, you know. So what I've learned on the pathway that I've been sort of guided on is you have to clean your own side of the street. You go back, and if possible, it doesn't cause any trouble, you make direct amends to somebody face to face. And the miracle of that is the bond is then broken. And the energy that's kept it suppressed and repressed and causing all the irritation in your unconscious mind, that's released then. And all the energy that you were using to keep it down is then back into your system then to give you more courage to go forward with more vitality. And that's how it works. And I think it's called karma, you know, it's the law of action. And the, you know, I'm going on about all sorts of different things, but the whole point about it is, I think people are being forced to face themselves at the moment. I don't think anybody's getting away with anything, because this great big tidal wave of cleansing that's coming in is like underneath it all, pushing it upwards, right? So it can be seen. And I think what people have to do is, or I have to do is, I have to look at it, see my action, see my part in it. And if it hurts somebody else, I have to go and apologize. And that's what I had to do, you know.
Yeah, I had something come up, didn't I? And I came to you like, Joe, Dan's been really annoying. You're like, hang on a minute, it's all you. I was like, oh, I know.
It is hard, you know, and that
is hard. Yeah.
That reflection thing, you know, when they say, you know, it's a reflection, and it doesn't mean if someone's having a go at you and they're kicking off, right, it doesn't mean to say that you're holding on to all sorts of anger. The lesson may be that in the past you've allowed this, and now it's your turn now to stand up for yourself. You see what I mean?
Power, yeah.
So
with those boundaries in place, yeah.
And that's exactly what this is. It's getting out of victim consciousness and restoring the power that you gave away. Yeah. Now, here's the other thing is, it mightn't even be your personal stuff. It could even be cultural stuff, this as well. Because there's all sorts of things, because sometimes you have to take an action now to clean up your cultural stuff as well, right? So your ancestral stuff, so you're actually cleaning their stuff up as well, really. And if you work it out, all it is really, DNA is nothing more than crystallized behavior personally and from cultural and from the past as well. You know what I mean? So it's crystallized behavior that no longer serves. It might have been some sort of adaptive feature in the past, but in this time that we're in now, it doesn't work. So we almost have to take the action to neutralize it, to get the power back that was given away all that time ago.
Is that's what DNA is? That's
me. I got told quite clearly.
Records and the information.
Yeah, it's like we work on our personal stuff, you know, and that's based. So, but then in the Akashic records or the Akasha, right? That's all ancient past stuff. That.
And is that all? Is the Akashic records of that? Is that all in our DNA?
Yeah, or it feeds into our DNA. So yeah, absolutely. Okay. So the interesting thing is, right, I got shown quite clearly that DNA, Joe, is simply a storage. It's to do with memory. It's not your memory. Software. Say again.
Like software.
Yeah, exactly. So it's held into place by magnetism. You know, that's how pen sticks work and all that. They're basically held in place by different levels of magnetism and electricity and stuff. So what I got shown was, Joe, DNA really is like, do you remember a video tape recorder where you've got audio visual and you could record it and play it back? He said, well, this one's like it's a 5-level one, right? So so when you play it back, you get the taste, the touch, the sound, you get all of it. It's a multi-sensory right, playback system. And that's why sometimes stuff comes to you and you think, oh my God, what's that? And it's basically, it's a playback from the past that's come to the future for you to take an action on it and do that. And I get loads of stuff about Irish Catholic cultural upbringing and the dominant role of the male, because what used to happen to me is, and this is no shit, this, you know, what used to happen is when I was really, really drunk, right, a whole cultural shift used to come in me. I became really, really dominating, right? My attitude towards the female was terrible. It was like, you're here to do this, that, and the other. And I used to wake up the next day and think, what's that? And I've been clearly shown that when you drink, it disinhibits and it releases the recordings from the past. And then you actually act it out then. So that's given me an understanding of the Celtic connection, the Irish Roman Catholic, almost like narcissistic empath thing and stuff like that, you know, the whole lunacy and having 12 and 13 and 14 kids. And now we've done that, get downstairs and make the roast dinner, you know, and this is all running. This is what happened to me. This is why I was trying to do myself in, because I was getting all this stuff all the time. But now it comes in now, and I know that I can stick it in my heart now, slow it down and almost like freeze frame bits of it so that I'm getting an understanding of what's been driving me personally, what drove my relatives, my granddad and my grandmother. Does that make sense? You know?
Sorry, my stepdaughter was just waving at me through the window.
No.
It does make sense. It really does. Because I know, like, when I've been really drunk, stuff will come out. I'm like, where does that come from? But I've had like galactic stuff come through, and you know, and I'm just no idea what it is or where it's coming from. So that could be a stretch one.
Well, I used to get this, you know, and all these languages, and you know, that's why I understand now that people would think that you were possessed, right? But all it's doing is it's taking a cap off a consciousness stream, and it's sort of replaying in a multi-sensory way the encrypted behavior that's working through so-called junk aspects of our DNA. So we're actually tapping into the invisible realms or the different levels of consciousness going back eons of time. And I think that what we've got to do is all of us have to do that. We have to turn backwards. We have to take actions. And every time we do that, we're getting closer to the source then.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what we have to do, is we're almost like cleaning up the timelines of the past, right, in order to get back to the original smiling face of the universe.
I keep being shown and feeling Mary Poppins, you know, this character of Mary Poppins, you know, going around helping families to heal, and, you know, and the ancestral stuff, to heal those wounds and to bring forth the child, the true essence. You know, there's a lot of that going on. And also I get a lot when I'm walking on certain areas of land. I'll get very, very particularly certain churches or cathedrals, big time, I can get it. And I'll be walking around and I'll just suddenly get this vast rage that starts moving through me. And I literally feel like a Celtic warrior queen, that I'm ready to tear someone's fucking head off. And Dan's seen it now, and he's really quite surprised, because I do change when it, you know, I'm able to keep it under control, but it's very, very powerful.
Well, I get the same thing, because, you know, I talked about this black dragon thing that comes up and stuff like that, you know, but that used to come out, you know, in drink, right? And I would wake up, and I've shared this openly, and I don't have any shame about it now, but I'd wake up and the whole house would be demolished, right? And I'd say to the people who were there, I'd say, and the kids would be cowering, right? I'd say, who's done this? And he said, Joe, it was you. And I have no recollection of that at all. But this mighty, mighty force used to come out. Now, I can feel it coming in now. And I know that it's in there now for my protection. But it's regulated now through my heart. You see what I mean? So drink and drugs, right? They disinhibit you, and they start opening up like a Pandora's box of different things, you know. And there's almost like different timelines, because I got taken back, as you know, to ancient Egypt, to Imhotep and all that, and then to Saint Aloysius, and all to do with healers, you know. And that's my function as well, is I can sort of clock my eyes on somebody and see where their energy is stagnated and obstructed, you know. And I'll maybe reintroduce into their energy system and show them some stretches to do, and you know, talk about massage and Tai Chi and Hatha yoga and stuff like that, because that seems to be part of my sort of repertoire as well, you know. But, you know, Lisa, I've come to terms, because when I used to wake up in this state, right, I couldn't understand it. I was so filled with guilt and remorse because I didn't know what was going on, because my intention has always been to be a helpful, kind and considerate person, you know. You know, and I share that because I'm not trying to sort of say I've always been saintly and all my life I've loved people, because that's not true. That's not true.
Yeah.
And that's not true now either.
Is that because you talk about AA?
Yeah.
And the 12 steps, isn't it? Because my dad was a very, very big drinker. Whiskey was hit. Whiskey's a particularly potent releaser of stuff, isn't it? Because I saw him many a times where he would just be in an altered state. He's not there. David isn't there, and he'd be like grunting and beating his chest. You know, it's an entirely different being would come through. But is that because, of course, like you say, you wake up the next day, you're like, oh my God, was that really me? What happened? And then you're full of shame and remorse. And but is there any actual support to go, it's okay, this is normal, this is your multidimensionality coming through, and there are ways, you know, is that discussed in AA or anything?
No. It's what actually happens is the alcohol almost like closes your heart down, so there's no way of transforming the energy for positivity. What actually happens then is it comes out in such an uncontrolled way, right? And what happens is it's gut head. And what AA does is it reintroduces you back to your heart. This is my way of explaining it.
Yeah.
So that all that energy then that builds up in your solar plexus and the bottom half of you, right, is then transformed through an open and flowing heart for good purpose then. So I have to laugh, you know, because looking back, people say, oh, I was possessed by this, that, and the other. No, I wasn't. It was just being released because it was in my energy systems, you see. Yeah. But it was just raw energy that was misunderstood because it comes out in fear. Right. It was raw energy that was misunderstood. The AA program of recovery is, most people think it's some sort of brainwashing thing. It's not that at all. It's to reconnect you with your soul and then allow you to be guided through intuition and inspiration then to the actions that you need to take. And one thing I've learned recently, not recently, but quite a while now, is that you have to unlock it in the sequence that it was laid down in. Right. You can't go through 3 levels down and hope to come back up and it all to be sloughed off. You have to go. And that's why, well, how do I know what to do next? That's why you have to develop this connection with your heart. And this is what I say. This is only my way of doing it, but it seems to be working okay. Is I don't know what to do here. Can you show me? And I almost get you know, if I'm doing some physical training or something, I'll get work on your shoulders today. If I go to a health coach, they may say, well, today we're going to work on your gluteals, you know, and that might actually obstruct the process because it will be out of sequence in unlocking, really. So this is about, I call this, I'll talk to Joseph about this, quantum disentanglement, really. Yeah. Because it's a deconstruction and a disentangling process, but it's got to be done in a particular sequence, really.
Oh, yeah. He'll like that.
Yeah. But the thing is, and this is open to everybody, but it's almost like everybody has to get to a certain desperate point, right, a rock bottom, where they say, I've thought everything now. I can't come up with a solution to this. That's a fantastic place to be. And then if you can say, you know, I'll say to them, well, actually, I found out that there was a deeper intelligence in me that had been trying to talk to me for ages. And they look at you as if you're soft, you know. And I say, look, this is what I do. I sort of sit there. I imagine that this is becoming all soft and it's opening up. And then I develop a dialogue with it. Now, some people, if they're not ready, they think, fuck, you know, I'll get shut of him. He should be back in the psychiatric department. Or some people say, it's funny you should say that. But I've almost like been having all these coincidences, and you know that they're now ready then to take the first few steps, you know.
Yeah, I've a lot, especially in this sister circle, a lot of them starting to share, you know, these funny coincidences that we talk about, and keep saying it's so weird, the weirdest things happen. And I said, can we shift that? It's actually normal. And it's going to become more and more normal. All of these like synchronicities, they do become more normal.
I think emotional disturbance is it's and people call it a trigger, but it's a trigger with a lesson on the end of it, really. And any emotional disturbance, I mean, if you get emotionally disturbed in pressurized situations, you're not much good to anybody, really. So I think people who are let's call it leaders in the field, they're being tested to the nth degree at the moment to see if they can honestly remain cool, calm, and collected without tension. So it's almost like a relaxed state of alertness, right? And really, it doesn't matter whether the energy waves are coming in, whether your head's up Uranus or all that. That's not important. I mean, it's good as a sort of cautionary thing and be aware. But in the end, it really doesn't matter what the external situation is, as long as you can surf in any conditions, really. And I think that people like ourselves, we're being trained in that, or have been for a long time, where we can sort of almost like people come to us to say, yeah, go to Joe. He's relatively clear-minded. He might be able to help you, you know. And that's what seems to be happening. Because if you lose your cool, you know, then you're no good to anybody. You're just contributing to the chaos, really.
No,
you know.
that's it. Well, I told you about that episode I had, the moment when we were running a children's workshop, and this man came bounding towards our space and tried to walk in the room, and he was really kind of crazed and very sweaty and not fully with it, and matted hair, and I just couldn't. This absolute calm came over me, and I just stood by the doorway, and it was almost like I had this energy field around me, and it wasn't getting anywhere near, and he even tried to shout in my face, "Get out of my fucking way." And I was just so calm, you know. And like you say, old me would have freaked out, really would have freaked out at that. You know, even I had these big, thankfully I had 3 dads there, and they were all massive. One of them I call Thor because he's huge, you know, and they were all had their eye on, but there was just no problem. It was, I'm like, okay, we've definitely shifted a bit here. Big difference.
Something I've learned as well is that if you stay relaxed and you just stay open, you know, people say you've got to put a shield around you and this, that, and the other.
No, there was no intention.
I don't believe. There's no, because my view is, and I think we've talked about this before. As you grow in faith, you grow in trust.
Yeah, right? You do.
You know, and as you grow in trust, you realize that with an open and flowing heart, you're shielded anyway. So any sort of, it's a sort of defense arousal response to close down. You get this egocentric contraction. You're in fight or flight. Then your head comes in to say, "I'm going to put 4 pillars of light up," and all, you know.
What happens? You attract more of what you're trying to protect yourself from.
Absolutely.
So the protection is fear.
I agree, you know, and that's, I mean, that's what I teach, the neuroscience of that, the neuroscience of fight and flight, because you go into what's called the amygdala hijack, and you can't think clearly then. But if you remain through breathing and through practice in the eye of the storm, you get a better, clearer vision. You know, you get a more expanded menu of options, and you can go like, it's like a carousel, really. You can go, oh right, I'll just pick this one for now. You know what I mean? And I use light art, and I go, "What's up, mate? What's up?" You know, and all, you know, I just sort of diffuse a lot of stuff with humor, basically. You know, sometimes it goes wrong though, because sometimes I'll throw one in, right, and I'll think, "Oh fuck, I've gone too far." But you know, it makes me laugh. Part of my job is like the jester. You know, it's to take the piss out of people, to cause them to be triggered. But I've already told them that if they get triggered, it's something that they've taken the bait on. And I go, "Got you there, didn't I?" And they go, "Oh yeah." And then they have to look then, what instinct in me has been activated. And that's how you learn then, really, you know.
Yeah.
So to go back, look at the time already. That's gone bloody quickly, hasn't it? So just to say, where I see it now is we've got the DNA, but it's been shrouded, and you used a nice word before, cloaked, really. You know, it's been cloaked in this sort of shroud of negativity. And I think what's actually happening is that this great big tidal wave now is actually starting to wash away this cloak now. It's like I put it about spin wash, you know, it's on a spin wash now, but some are pretty difficult to get shut of, right? But every time a chunk of it or a stain comes up, it's sort of our job then to see, oh, what was that about? So in the process, we're learning and we're evolving as well, you know. And I think what's actually happening is, in the end, we'll all be left with our essential soul selves, and then we'll be create for the purpose that we've come here for in the first place. But to go back to the kids, if we can prevent them being programmed into slavedom, right? And we can actually watch them as parents to see which way they're growing and facilitate, not do anything for them that they can do for themselves, facilitate an environment where they can grow strong in their own gifts and skills and abilities, you know. And I think that would be their vocation. And I think, you know, that's what it's all about to me, Lisa.
Oh, it really is. It really is. They've got everything. They know what they're here to do.
Yeah.
They know it all.
Yeah.
It's all there. And
it's gonna be difficult for parents, because my thing is, again, is working with the inner child, you know, because I think Shanine's here, but I mentioned special educational needs, you know, and that normally means like people on autism and the Asperger's and the autistic spectrum, but I'm talking about special educational needs for the inner child as well, because they need so much loving and nurturing and caring, but also they need to be taken by the hand to walk through the bits, because it's really the emotional child that needs to grow as well, you know. So there's so many different components happening all over the place, really.
There is, yeah. Just with the ones you mentioned, the ones with autism and all Asperger's and all that, what's to say that people talk about, you know, our star family that are coming, and we're becoming a star nation once again, and all of this, what's to say that they're not already here?
Oh no, I totally know. I know that that's true.
When you meet these ones, you're like, okay, yeah.
But I wrote 10 years ago, I wrote to a professor in Australia to say, you know, autistic spectrum disorder isn't what you think it is. I said, because this is what I think it is. I think that they're gifted in a particular sphere, and that's exactly what they're here for. Be like Joseph's probably, you know what I mean? But there are some aspects though that they can be helped with, like in the more social aspects and stuff like that, you know. So to help them, not necessarily to sort of merge with society and become normal. I'm not talking about that, because their sphere is so activated that there's a massive potential in there, and very futuristic stuff, which is ancient anyway, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I see that in a different way. To me, it's all about intelligence. It's all about multiple intelligence. But as they grow older, and I'm partly sort of was on this as well myself, we can be diagnosed as psychotic when in actual fact it's just blocked intelligence, really. So this is about cleaning out pathways, strengthening pathways, and connecting pathways, you know. And I see that regarding, it's the meridian system, it's the nodal system. There's things called axiotonal lines. All these things are connected to obstructions that need clearing out. And then everything starts to balance out. The picture I got was a carousel, you know, a carousel with 12 horses on it, right? If one of them's out of balance, the carousel will start doing that. So this is about retuning one of the components, right? It's almost like retuning a sports car, you know what I mean? Really refining it. So in the end, it's coherent and it's spinning without any sort of undulations and stuff like that. I don't know what I'm going on about now, but I know that you know what I mean.
Well, I can see it. Yeah.
So, you know, there's so much to do, but really the simplicity of it is know that we don't know what to do. Hand over to the higher power and be guided by let's call it the Holy Spirit, which is a spirit of intelligence, which will give perfect information right at that time for that particular job. You know what I mean? And then if we can trust it and take the action based upon what we're feeling, then it'll be like almost like a fast track then to peace on earth.
Because we talked about, you call it your zoom zoom.
Yeah.
Mine comes in as like my heart explodes. It's like I can literally feel it like a flower. It just goes poof, and then I know, okay, right, we're doing this, and I just follow that. I can never see in front of me. I don't know what's coming. I don't know where I'm going. But that's my barometer. We all may have different things, but we, you know, just it'll keep happening, and then okay, that's mine.
And I think that's what, and that's the sort of thing, isn't it? Know thyself. Know how you operate. Don't try and force somebody else to operate in the way that you do. Just allow them to find out who they are. Right, because my thing is like, find yourself, be yourself, and create something beautiful from yourself. That's it. But when you start finding yourself, you think, hang on, what I thought was myself isn't myself, and you'll find that really the self that you thought you were is exactly the opposite than the one that you're becoming, you know. I'm getting into guru speak again now, but it's like, what you thought you were isn't, right?
Yeah.
So it's almost like a reversal and a reflection, right? And I think in order to find that and neutralize it, you've got to take the actions opposite than the ones that your ego thinks you should take, because they're all about avoidance and ducking and diving and dodging and weaving and stuff like that.
If there's resistance, dive in, baby.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So there you go, kid. That's no idea. I have to play this back to see what we were going on about. But what else was coming to me before? Oh, I know, yeah, about senses. People's senses now will be becoming heightened, and so for a while they'll feel sort of off balance. But it's just layers of sensitivity are increasing all the time now. And we were talking about sense of smell might become really enhanced, or you might find that you find that the light's just too much, or you're hearing things, or you're getting sensations and stuff like that. These are positive things, really. The idea is, if you can become mindful of your breathing, and when you start to get the concern about it, is breathe it away, and then you'll get back to a plateau point. And then you'll start to become okay then with your new layer of sensitivity until the next wave comes in, right? Because in a way, our senses have been dumbed down considerably, so they're coming back now to life. And rather than look at the sell-by date, from Sainsbury's and stuff like that, you'll just be able to smell it and see if it smells okay. So that's what we used to use: is smell it. How does it smell? Smells okay. Okay, eat it then.
Give it a lick.
Give it a lick. Yeah, see what it tastes like. You'll be all right.
Yeah.
So there's so much happening now. We're being restored and renewed and reset in the proper way. And so natural immunity is coming back if we can just allow ourselves to detox and be mindful of the shit that's in food and in drink, and so it's basically about becoming more aware and keeping ourselves as clean as possible, really.
Beautiful.
So there you go, baby. I love you like mad. Thanks very much.
Love you. And we'll catch up soon. I'm looking for, is it next? Well, I don't know. I don't know what day it is, but I know you're coming down in a week or two, aren't you? Equinox.
I'm coming down on the 22nd.
22nd. I don't know if we're filming it, are we? To put out.
I've got no idea. We just play it by ear. But we're hopefully doing two little 3-hour workshops, aren't we, or something?
Yeah. So if anyone is in Dorset, they fancy coming along to listen to this fella. It's happening.
No, it's not me. It's a double act. It's Lauren and Hardy. Oh, behave yourself. No, it'll be the diabolical duo or something like that, But I think we'll have to try and knock up a flyer or something, won't we? And
yeah.
Okay.
But we've got a lovely space to do it in, and I'm really excited.
Oh, that'll be good. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
All right then. So thanks very much, and thanks everybody for listening in. And if you do get a chance, just have a look at Sir Ken's thing on my Facebook page there, because he says it much more eloquently than I do. He's a brilliant he's a brilliant orator, and he really gets the message across very clearly. Okie dokie, my regards to Dan, and I'll speak to you soon.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye, Chief.
Bye.